Oh, pull up, pull up, pull up. Pull up.
All right, here we go. Armor guide number 5. This one's going to be operational strategy. When you hop in that vehicle, you're at main and you're leaving. Where the heck are you even going with this thing? What's your objective? What are you doing? The purpose of this video is to give you a few ideas. There's no way I can cover everything. This is going to be heavily opinion based. You'll get a lot of opinions from a lot of different people, but hopefully this will give you a few ideas on how to effectively use your vehicle. I am assuming you're trying to run armor pretty much full time. You're intending to stay in the vehicle as driver and gunner and maximize its effectiveness. So that's going to be the scope of this video as well. So if we start talking about the overall objectives, your number one overall objective is simply stay alive. Guys, if you're dead, you can't influence the game. You're losing tickets. It's an expensive vehicle, 10 to 15 tickets. You need to be doing way better than that. You need to be getting like double your vehicle's value before you die. Stay alive. It's important. The worst thing is when people jump in these vehicles and just drive them straight into the enemies and get them killed. These are force multipliers and they are fantastic if used properly. Do your best to keep that vehicle alive as long as possible. Your next largest objective is going to be to eliminate any enemy armor threats that you are a good counter for. Obviously, most of your IFVs aren't going to be a match for a tank, so we're saying pick the fights that you can win, and that's one of your biggest goals is to deal with that because it's difficult for a lot of the infantry to handle those vehicles. You are the counter for that. Your number 3 objective is stay alive. Yes, it is that important, guys. You have to stay alive. This is why when I die, I do tend to get pissed off at myself because I want to stay alive. I know how important it is and how big of an influence armor can play on a game if you can stay alive and stay on the field. And then we come to assisting the infantry. That's one of your biggest objectives as well. You've dealt with enemy armor, and now your next biggest goal is going to be assisting the infantry however you can. You're going to be helping them run D. You're going to help them attack enemy positions. You're going to try and flank around and hit fobs, just whatever you can do to assist your infantry. But it's important to be near your infantry because that's going to help keep you alive. And that's one of our biggest goals, right, is staying alive. So work with your infantry. You're helping them out in any way. And at the same time, they're helping keep you alive. Now, before we talk about where we're going, what we're doing, I want to talk about the things that are influencing those decisions. As I said, staying alive is one of your biggest objectives that are out there. So one of the biggest influences to how you're going to approach the game is what I would consider these threat levels. So there will be about 4 threat levels, threat level 1 being the most dangerous, threat level 4 being the least dangerous. You'll be floating back and forth as the game unfolds and things change, and sometimes it will never change, as you'll see. But this will be impacting how you approach the game as things unfold. All right, so what's going to be the biggest threat to your vehicle? What's threat level 1? You might think it's going to be when the enemy tanks are on the field, clearly, but I would disagree. I would say it's going to be when you're playing against the irregular militia forces or the private military contractors, the PMC. Both of these factions have tons of AT capabilities with their infantry. Their infantry are a huge threat to your vehicle, and they're not going away. They're there the entire game. It never vanishes, and you never get out of this threat level. You have to constantly try and avoid getting in too deep against enemy infantry. Now, it's true, their armor sucks. Both of those factions' armor sucks, but the power is with the infantry. They have so many AT threats out there, you've got to constantly be on your toes. The next threat level is going to be when there's enemy tanks on the field. You have to know where they are, and if you don't know where they are, then you really have to be careful. But that's going to drive a lot of your decisions with regards to where you're moving and what fights you can and cannot take. All right, threat level 3 is where I would say most of the time you start most of your games. This is going to be when there's no enemy tanks on the field, but there are enemy vehicles out there that can still wreck your day. The other IFVs are still up and about, so you've got to constantly worry about them. And last, I'd say threat level 4. There's no enemy armor of significance on the field at all. You're going to be able to mop up pretty much anything you come across with ease, and you just have to worry about the infantry. So if you're not playing the IMF, there's no tanks, and there's no IFVs out there of significance or tank killers or whatnot, then now you're in stage 4, and it's time to really go have some fun. All right, so I said the irregular militia forces is the biggest threat to your vehicle, and it never goes away. Let me elaborate a little bit as to why that is. To start off with, they just have 2 hat kits like most other factions do, but their hats get to carry 2 tandem rounds each. meaning that they can solo pretty much any vehicle that's out there on the field. So they're pretty potent. On top of that, one of the fire support roles they have, one of their LAT kits is a rifle grenade kit. They have 5 AT rifle grenades, and with those 5 AT rifle grenades, they can solo pretty much any IFV out there that's 1,250 hit points or below. So now you've got, if let's say there's 6 squads out there that have enough people to field this, well, now you've got 8 people that can solo vehicles that are out there. One of your other fire support roles is going to be the infiltrator. The infiltrator has the 4 AT hand-thrown grenades that they can do. If they hit all 4 of those on your vehicle, and they're pretty quick to throw, they can reduce your health down to about 10% on a standard 1,250 hit point IFV. Or if you're in a 1,000 hit point one like a BTR, I believe you're outright dead or close to it. So now you've got them in the mix, potentially another 6 of those guys. On top of that, they've got the standard LAT kit that's out there with 2 heat rounds. So they're in the mix just like you would have with most other factions. And then to make things even worse, you've got 4 saboteurs. These are basically combat engineers, but they get 4 of them as opposed to the 2 that most of the other teams get. So you've got 4 guys laying AT mines everywhere. So for those who are keeping count, that means we've now got about 15 to 20, we're going to assume, AT capable people that are out there out of their 50-player team. Now, might be a little less, might be a little more, depending on what kits they pick, but you've got to assume something. Assume 15 to 20 that are out there, most of which can really mess you up if they get the opportunity. This is why you should avoid at all costs trying to push into their infantry positions solo. You should never do that. Always have support before you do that. Do not sleep on these guys. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but when you're leaving main, one big thing that influences how far out you might want to go is going to be the speed of your vehicle. You're either going to be in a slow vehicle, and I'm generalizing here. I'll say a slow tracked vehicle, a medium wheeled APC or IFV, or a fast light vehicle. That's going to determine how far out you're going to get into the map before you might take contact. So something like a slow vehicle, you're not going to get as far into the map before you might take contact, and a light vehicle is going to let you get much further out there, right? So again, it's very obvious, I know, but that does influence your plan on where you might or might not go. What you're seeing here is me comparing the speed of a tracked vehicle, a Bradley, to the speed of a wheeled APC, the Striker. We're leaving this southwestern base here on Gorodok. We're going to see how far they can get out here in 4 minutes. Let's pretend the center cap is up here in the northwest. And then we're going to flip it and see from the Russian side with their similar vehicles, how far out can they get in 4 minutes, just to give you an idea of how these things compare from the two sides. Not all of the maps are terribly symmetrical. You will see that in some cases on some maps, one side can get to the middle much faster than the other side can. There's no way I can break all of that down for you. That is something that's going to come with experience, but just be aware that yes, sometimes you may take contact well before getting to the middle, even with against the same speed vehicle that you're in. With regards to vehicle speed, here's a good general rule to keep in mind. If you know where the center cap is, which we'll talk about later, but if you know where center cap is and you suspect the enemy might know as well, if you're in a slow vehicle, you do not want to be the first vehicle arriving to that point by yourself. The reason being, you're in a slow vehicle. They can probably beat you there, and they're probably already there waiting in ambush with AT infantry there, another piece of armor there, who knows what. If you're the first person arriving in a slow Vic, that's a bad idea. Now, if you want to roll in with friends or something, that's fine, but you have to assume the enemy has beaten you there and do not walk into an ambush. Avoid rolling in there, being the first vehicle to roll in there solo if you're in a slow Vic. So another big factor in knowing where you're going to go, trying to decide where you're going to go, is going to be where are the caps going? Especially if you're playing random advance and secure or invasion, you're going to want to know where are those caps going. You'll notice sometimes some squad leads seem to know where the lanes are going well in advance of them being revealed on the map. If you've ever wondered how they know, this is how they know. SquadMaps.com. It's a great tool. It's got a lot more than just doing these lane predictions that we're going to get into. It's going to show you where the possible caps might go for both invasion, RAS. It's also got some other tools that he's baked in. It's actually a really cool site. Now, to be fair, there's not really a whole lot that's special about knowing the lanes on here. These are things you could figure out with just a spreadsheet on your own. They've just taken the time to put this out here publicly for everyone to take advantage of. Some people really hate that it's out here and think, oh, you shouldn't be using this, but some people love it. I, for one, think it's a useful tool, and I like that it is available to everyone. So if we take a look at Balea Pass, let's pretend we're playing it. We're doing random advance and secure. We can take a look here. Let's say we're the team starting out in the north up here. If we know our first cap, we'll put that in, and immediately we know pretty much the whole lane. We know where it's going to go. The only question here are the second cap. It could be any of these three. We know for sure the center fourth cap is going to be train tunnel, and we know all of these other caps as well. So if we had a light Vic, we could even push down here to industrial if we wanted to. Now you might think, well, hey, Gibson, they could easily get to industrial before me. Why would I push down there? Well, if you flip this around, Kobayashi is their first point. They don't know exactly. Even if they're using this tool, they don't know exactly where it's going yet. Now, if they'll pay attention, there's a good 66% chance up here that it's going to be this alpha lane. But even after they go take Kobayashi and they say, okay, it's depot, they still don't know where it's going until after they cap depot and then they see it's industrial. Now they know the lane finally. But you knew from the start if you were over here on this team. So it's very easy for this team to come down here and jump this point and set up on it, get ambushes squared away or whatnot. So this is a powerful tool for the people who use it. If you're ever wondering how they seem to know, either they've got their own private spreadsheets where they're noting this stuff down, or they've got a good memory, or they're just using this tool, which is what 99% of them are doing. Now, it's not always this case. Sometimes it's symmetrical, sometimes it's asymmetrical. If we look over here, let's pretend we're team 1 and the first point is Aniva. Now team 1 knows the exact lane, right? All the way down to lumberyard. If we flip this around, team 2, their first cap lumberyard, oh, they don't know. It's exactly the reverse, right? So sometimes you have more intelligence than they do, or sometimes, let's say it's swamp here. We know it's center. If it's Kagat, they know it's center, right? So sometimes you have exactly the same intelligence. It totally depends. Some maps are unfair in this regard. Some maps are completely symmetrical, and both sides know. Just take a look from both sides, see if you can figure things out, and this should give you a good idea on where to put your vehicle. So if you know where center caps are going to go, you can know where to try and go set up somewhere to have a decent impact on the game. You're definitely going to be taking contact in some of these areas. So use this if you want to get an idea on where you should be sending your vehicle. It's going to be tough to have an operational strategy if you don't know what your vehicle is good at killing. This spreadsheet is an attempt to show you which vehicles are going to excel at fighting which other vehicles. It lists their hit points and basically how hard they can hit. This section may get kind of long. I'm going to try and keep it as brief as I can, but we're going to try and rank order some of the vehicles just to give you an idea of the things you should be targeting and the things you should probably not be engaging at all. Standard lawyer disclaimers here. I am not an authority on the game. This is collected by hand as of the end of September. I do not have the PMC vehicles in here. This data was collected on a live server. It was not collected on Jensen's Range. I am only focused on IFVs and light armored vehicles. I do not care about open tops in this, nor do I care about grads. The top of the sheet is a grouping of the vehicles by their hit points. You'll notice a big chunk of them have 1,250 hit points. Vehicles marked with an asterisk mean they have a significant amount of layered armor, which is going to affect the time to kill if you're hitting in those areas. On the bottom of the spreadsheet, we have grouped the vehicles by their weapon system. Many of them share very similar weapon systems with the same times to kill. Going across, we've got the different hit point vehicles that they will encounter, and how long it takes them to kill that many hit points is measured in seconds below that. The times to kill are measured using the best available ammo for their primary weapon system, usually going to be AP or some kind of 50 caliber round. The time to kill listed may be inaccurate by up to a half a second. If a vehicle is bolded, we're indicating it also has an ATGM at its disposal, which is significant. Time to kill with a star listed by it is indicating that these numbers are heavily influenced by whether or not you are even penetrating the vehicle. This is especially true with your AA and your 50 caliber weapons. You will have to be hitting the target vehicle in such a way that you are actually penetrating them, which is very difficult against some of these vehicles. So quick example, if I've got a Striker M2 versus a BMP2, both of those vehicles have 1,250 hit points. It's going to take that Striker M2 about 14 seconds to destroy the BMP, and that's assuming he is penetrating every shot. Meanwhile, the BMP-2 is going to kill the Striker in about 6.5 seconds. That is a dumb fight you do not want to take if you are in the Striker. You would only approach that fight if you have severe advantage in some way. So feel free to pause this video here, take a look at all the numbers. There's a few wild items that are in here. Things like the AA gun, it has crazy low time to kill, and it does hit hard if you penetrate. So you're going to see some crazy things like that, assuming you can stay alive and not get shot off of it. Same with some of the things like the VMK, some of the 50 caliber vehicles, very fast times to kill, faster than you'd expect if you can get them to penetrate. The BTR-80 would actually kill the BTR-82 faster than the 82 could kill it, strangely. So some wild numbers in here. Check it out, see what you think. All right, so I'm going to rank the 5-ticket vehicles here purely based on their ability to just tear each other up if they come head to head. I am not really taking stabilization into account or mobility in this. It's just purely off of how much damage they can do and are they going to live versus the other vehicles. S tier easy is going to be the BTR-80 and the MTLB-6MA. Both of these vehicles have 1,000 hit points, so they're pretty tough for 5-ticket vehicles, and they've got that KPVT gun. It shoots the 14.5 millimeter AP. They will tear into any IFV that's out there, and they have very fast damage, especially when they first open up. Easy S tier on those. A tier just underneath that, you've got the BRDM. It also has the same KPVT gun up top. It just has 750 hit points, so it's a little easier to kill. Then you've got the MTLB VMK. It's got the NSVT 50 caliber machine gun up top. So weaker, but still really good. That thing doesn't overheat. It's the same MG that the tanks have for Russia. And this MTLB has 1,000 hit points. So it can be nasty. It's got a great time to kill if you look back on the sheet there. So again, it's going to kill pretty much anything in the tiers underneath it. If we go down to the B tier stuff, now we're getting into the Tiger and the CSK RWS. Fast vehicles, 750 hit points on those, and a solid 50 caliber MG. I'm going to throw the PARS M2 RWS here. It's got the weaker M2 50 caliber, but it's got 1,000 hit points to back it up. The same with the TLAV, the weaker M2 system, but it's got 1,000 hit points. The TLAV has the added weakness, though, of having no stabilization either. The nice thing about all of the other vehicles here in B tier is they've all got stabilization. C tier, all of these have stabilization, but they're all M2 systems, and all of these have 750 hit points. They just cannot keep up with the 50 calibers from Russia and China, unfortunately. Line them up. The Chinese and Russia ones are going to win those. So that's your C tier. And then at the bottom of the pack, D tier, the one that's not winning any fights, any even fights, we'll say, is going to be the Humvee M2 Crows. It just simply does not have the firepower, nor does it have the hit points. It's got 650 hit points versus all of the others having 750. All right, so it comes to the IFVs and the APCs. Which vehicle do I think is going to kill the other if they line up and start shooting each other? It's a little tougher to tell sometimes because a lot of these have ATGMs. I'm going to try and take that into account here. This is a lot of opinion that a lot of people may disagree with, but here we go. In your S tier, king of the field is still the Bradley, in my opinion. 2,000 hit points. Are you kidding me? It's tough. You line them up, start shooting, it's going to be able to kill pretty much anything out there. The only one that might be able to hang with it would be the BMP-2M, and the only reason it might be able to hang with it is because it's got that awesome rapid-fire ATGM up top. No other vehicle comes close to that. I would love to be in either of these vehicles, and they are going to trash every other vehicle in every other tier underneath them. A tier is a little tougher. We're mixing the B-Fist up here. It's got the 2,000 hit points, but it has no ATGM. But man, that's a huge hit point pool. Same with the LAV-6. It's in a similar situation. Massive hit point pool and basically the same gun. But still, it's going to trash most everything else that's underneath it because it takes so long to kill this thing. BMP-3M and BMP-2 are both up here. They've got ATGMs, lower hit point pool, but a fantastic gun. The BMP, the main weapon on the BMP is great. Again, they're going to all kill anything in any tier underneath them. Of these vehicles, my favorite is the LAV-6 for that hit point pool. It can take 2 tank shots and keep on trucking. It's one of the and it's wheeled. It's very fast. Best wheeled vehicle potentially in the running for best wheeled vehicle in the game, I'd say. Although yes, it does have the weakness where it cannot shoot in that 30-degree window directly behind it because of the ammo boxes on the back, or else you will damage yourself. That is its weakness. The B tier has some really good vehicles, including potentially my favorite vehicle in the game. All of these have basically the same gun. They're all basically the same gun as what you'll find on the BTR-82, which is a good damage output gun. But they've also got 1,250 hit points. All of them have solid hit point pool, so it takes a good bit longer to kill them. And all of them have ATGM options. Except for the BMP-1AM, it does not have ATGM. Still, it's got a great gun and good hit point pool. I'm going to leave it here, but kind of put it on the end of it. The ZBL-08, I would put at the top of this pack because not only is it fast, mobile, it's wheeled, right? But yeah, it's got all of the same goodies as the rest of them. And it's got a great view from the driver's seat, and it's got a great view from the command seat. So great vehicle, probably one of, if not the best wheeled IFVs in the game, with maybe the LAV-6 giving it a run. The rest of these are all tracked. Your ZBD-04, ZBD-05 from China, BMD, and BMP-1AM. All of these are great vehicles. I would happily crew any of these, and you ought to be killing anything in the tiers below you. The C tier is going to include a lot of the vehicles that have been in the game longer than anything else. You'll probably run into these more often, but they leave a lot to be desired if they come against any of the things in the tiers above them. BTR-82 and most any of your LAV, it's a fairly even fight. The BTR-82 is a little weaker because it's only got 1,000 hit points, but it's got better damage output on its gun. LAV-25 is exactly the opposite. Same with any of the LAVs here. They've got the 1,250 hit points, but the main cannon on the LAVs is weaker. So they're roughly even in this regard. Same with Coyote there. ACV, all of these are basically in the same pool. It's either they've got a good gun, but weak hit points, or weak hit points with a good gun. That's the long story short in the C tier. And I've got to put the 2,000 hit point vehicles with crap guns in them somewhere. This is going to be the Warriors. I'm putting the up armor and the standard warrior together because, frankly, as long as you know where to shoot, as long as you shoot them in the turret, there's no difference between the two. I love the up armor warrior, though. It is fun to drive in when you're playing against people who don't know to shoot you in the turret. It can be a lot of fun, but I am going to try and rank them fairly here. So I'm going to throw both variants of the warrior and the AAVP here because their guns just aren't that good. Their guns aren't that good. They've got fantastic hit points, huge survivability. They are beasts. They suck all the ammo away from the other vehicles trying to kill them, but would I rather be in the B tier stuff? Absolutely. Any day I would take any of the B tier vehicles over these. Lastly, we come to the dog water tier, the things that do not deserve to be worth 10 tickets whatsoever, to the point where I rarely crew these if I can avoid it at all. The PARS 325mm, you've got the weak gun of the LAV and the low hit points of the BTR-82. You're going to lose every fight straight up if you're taking things on. Same with the Striker M2. You might have fair hit points at 1250, but you've got the trash gun of the M2 in comparison. Good luck killing anything in the levels above you. You, generally speaking, aren't unless you get lucky or have some kind of advantage. Same with the LAV 3 M2. And good luck killing anything with the Scimitar. Why it is here, I don't know. 10 tickets for a vehicle that has 750 hit points is absurd to me. I would not take this out if I could avoid it at all. And then you also get to the trash can that is known as the BMP-1. It is simply too slow on the reload to be much of a threat. Yes, it's got an ATGM, I know, so it can chip in damage on something. But if you line it up against any of these other vehicles above it in the tiers above it, it will lose. That is straight up the case. And yes, we know there's more utility on some of these than on others. Like, for example, Scimitar's got 600 ammo and things of that nature. We get it. I'm just comparing their killing power, and this is how it lays out to me in terms of which vehicle is a threat to which of the others. Here's some extra data. I'm not sure where to throw it, so I'm going to throw it right here. This is how fast the turret speeds are for the various light vehicles, APCs, and IFVs. The number is basically how many seconds it takes for the turret to spin a full 360. The faster the turret will spin, as well as the better your stabilization will be. So the M2 and the RWS systems will all have the best stabilization. ZBD-04, your BMP-3M, those will have the worst because they've got some of the highest turn speeds. And of course, you've got the BMP-1 up there. It doesn't even have stabilization, and on top of that, it's got horrific turret turn speeds. The vast majority of vehicles of IFVs fall in at about 7.5 seconds, and this is another reason I love the LAV-6. It's got the best turret speed, meaning it's got the best stabilization of all of the significant IFVs that are out there. So there you go. Sometimes you will be faced with the Kobayashi Maru, which I'm sure most of you know is the no-win scenario from Star Trek. It's a fictional example of a situation. No matter what you do, you can't win. This is an example where we're trying to push up here to help our infantry. They're trying to secure, I believe this is our third cap, and we decide to go up there. We know they're taking pressure from infantry, and it's critical that we get this cap. We're trying to assist the infantry. So either we assist them and risk exposing ourselves to a nearby vehicle, or we don't assist them and risk losing the cap. You really can't win given the lack of information that we've got, and that is the essence of this situation.
Enemy infantry northeast. Whole squad, 030 to 045.
Just having radius marked actually
Swing all the
doesn't
way
even
right,
push
along
that
those
fucking
trees.
Darcy.
Another one, AC 047.
Activate escape pods. Send out the log buoy. All hands abandon ship. Repeat. All hands abandon ship.
All right, open her up.
Any suggestions, Admiral?
Prayer, Mr. Savick. The Klingons don't take prisoners.
Lights.
And so the best of our intentions here to help our infantry has gone south, right? Apparently, there was a BMD right up there. No one knew about it. No one called it out. We knew there was a risk of something in the area, but we decided to assist the infantry, and this is what happens. And this is an example of a strategy to take on. Sometimes it's whoever shoots first is going to lose, in the sense that if you reveal yourself to the enemy and you still don't know where they are, then that's a big advantage to them, and that gets us in big trouble right here. We smoke, turn tail, and run, and even with the Bradley and its mighty 2,000 hit points, it's just barely clinging to life after taking an initial blast that hard. They hit us in the turret, they played it perfectly, and so, you know, the fight is theirs on this. Granted, they don't kill us outright here, but they do win that engagement as far as I'm concerned. So as far as operational strategy goes, talking about a situation like this, I think it's pretty clear you should not engage if you think an enemy vehicle that could be dangerous to you is nearby. You should wait until they announce themselves, and you should be the one pushing the enemy vehicle instead of the other way around here. Yes, the downside to this is your infantry are going to be screaming, why aren't you assisting us? Why aren't you helping us? And this is why, because it's going to be better that we reverse things, where we are pushing the enemy vehicle and then we can assist mopping up the infantry. I think that's going to have a better outcome all around in a situation like this. We were talking about threat levels earlier, and the second threat level is when the enemy tank is on the field. You have to know when their tank is going to spawn. If you don't know, you've got to figure out a way to learn that information. Before the map even starts, when you're during the voting phase, you should be able to tell when they're going to get their tanks. Take a look at it. The units are all listed right there based on the faction unit that they picked. The spawn timers are listed. Keep that in mind, and you should have it in your mind when it gets to the 15-minute mark or the 10-minute mark, whatever. When you're playing the game, you should immediately switch into that mode. That tank is out there now, and we've got to constantly be aware of it, because that's going to determine where we can't go if we're an IFV that can't deal with him. Or it's going to determine where we might want to start going to go deal with him. If we're some kind of sprut, or we've got ATGMs of some type and want to try and set up for an ambush shot on him, then we need to start thinking about that. You got to know when the tank is spawning, though, to effectively do this. And as several of you know, if your faction is using the support unit, you can look up in the command screen on the top right at the vehicle listing, and you can see how much time remains until those vehicles spawn. It's some added intelligence you get for being that faction unit. Granted that their armor usually isn't great. It's usually pretty trimmed down. But anyway, there's a different way that you can know how much time is left until their vehicles spawn. Some other squad leads will have a completely legitimate question as to why vehicles seem to be completely away from the infantry doing their own thing. This comes back to the whole objective, number one, that we've got, which is staying alive. In this example, you can see where this group is down here playing the edge of the map. Why are they doing that? Playing the edge of the map is a smart play as armor in general, especially when you're in those higher threat levels, when the tank is on the field or when you still got other armor on the field. You need to know where they are first. And one of the best places to wait is near an edge of the map where you can actually push in and get to where the enemy armor is within, say, a couple of minutes. If we take a look at the view from the tank from this position, you can see they've got a long sight line down this road. So if any enemy vehicle comes down this way, they're going to light them up. They're already looking. They're cutting off the angles by playing the edge of the map. They don't have to worry what's south of them. They don't have to worry about what's west of them. They really don't have to worry about what's north of them much, since that's where their main is. They mostly have to worry about the northeast and the east, and that's it. So it cuts down the angles on where they have to worry about, and they're within reasonable striking range of their friendly infantry to deal with this. So yes, your big goal here is to stay alive safely. You're set up in a good spot where you can kill one if they just happen to come down this way, which is a reasonable suspicion. You can hear where the enemy is. We're waiting for them to announce themselves so that then we have intelligence on where they are, and then we can push them. So great spot overall. This is what you want to do to both try and stay alive and find the enemy vehicles. On most invasion layers, one of my favorite things to do is to try and get squad leads to load their infantry into the APCs and let us blitz them on to point. Feel free to load up the APCs with infantry. We can blitz them on point.
Yep.
We've got the 2 Lav 6 is a pretty heavy duty.
Sorry, he's wearing a helmet.
All right, get us in there, Gibson.
Airsoft.
So when you do this, it is ideal for the vehicles that have the troops in it not to be on point, right? You want something else to eat a shot when you're approaching, if you can, one of the empty Vics. Don't care what. Could even be a transport. You can send an empty transport in front if you want. You're just wanting the AT to have multiple targets, and ideally you don't want it to be the ones with the troops in it that they're taking shots with.
Whole squad on the bridge. They're all over it.
Yeah, he was trying to send me down there with my lobby. Bring that over to 7. 7, I'm bringing your lodge there.
Everyone out. We're dead. We're
hop
die.
off.
Everyone out. Everyone out. Go, 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 go.
Alright. Go, 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 go. I'm trying to block this guy.
Now, if this had been the IMF, I would not have done this, but otherwise, most other factions I would probably risk it against. Maybe against PMCs, I might not. So anyway, this kind of thing almost always works. I can't remember the last time I saw it fail. If you go against a really good team, they might get enough people there to stop you and kill a few off, but usually you immediately cap this first point and you move on with the game like normal. So anyway, it's a fun little strat. Everyone loves it. You get to go in smoking. It's a fun blitz, and it's usually very effective on most invasion layers. Keep it in mind. All right, this is Fool's Road. Fool's Road is nothing but one gigantic choke point, right? You've got this square around the map, this road, nothing but cliffs and trees on either side. Yeah, you got a few dirt roads in between, but by and large, it's just one big choke point for vehicles. So it's pretty dangerous. So you need to set up in a good spot, and you need to avoid pushing into bad spots. So knowing that this is one big choke point, you look up on squad lanes and you see, well, here's the possible third caps for my team. I'm putting in red here. These would be the possible third caps. And then the possible fourth caps we will put down here. It'd be train station or this one. And pretend you don't already know. I know you can see the lane here, but pretend you don't already know. So third caps are in red, fourth caps are in green. You're sitting at main down here. You're sitting in your vehicle down here at main in a Bradley. Where are you going to go knowing what you know about this? Choke points everywhere, and those are your third and fourth caps. And it's only a 5-cap map, by the way. Only 5 caps are possible. So the greens would be their second or your fourth. So knowing what you know, you got to formulate a strategy. Where are you going to go to take advantage of the choke points as well as try and not get lit up at a choke point? Here is what I would do. When I'm looking at this, I am completely conceding the north because they are in the north. They can easily get here and set up right here to just blow away anything coming down here. And I have to come through here unless I take a super, super slow route through the hills or something with a Bradley. I'm not going to be doing that. It's just a pain in the butt. It's possible, but it's a good way to get killed too. And you will never get anywhere with any speed. So I'm conceding this. I generally do not want to go up here at all. Our Logis, our Fast Vics can probably get up here to Papanov, or yeah, they can get over in these hills and get up here possibly. I'll let them do that. But in IFV, I'm just going to get lit. They will be sitting there waiting for me. Light vehicles can easily beat me there. Their BMP can beat me there. So why would I choose to do that? Instead, what I would opt to do is come down here and be a thorn in their side for the second cap. It is going to be much, much easier for us to get down here and deal with this, and it's going to take them quite a while to leave their main, longer than me anyway, for them to get all the way down here and get to their second cap. We'll blow them away at this point. So that is what I would opt to do were I in this situation.
We good.
We're going to post up on the road down here, jam their second cap, in theory. Although this is IMF, we're probably going to get lit up. Like they've got 10 different people who can solo us. And just up the road here.
Surrounded.
Up here.
We're going to head and try to kill the TP. I got two hats,
They're in min arm right now. They can't get us.
You have our only logic for a little bit.
The objective has been locked down. You got grenades. Get your ready.
I got point 2. Hill
So
13.
even though that point is closer to our main than theirs, this just goes to show what we were talking about earlier with slow vehicles versus fast vehicles. They were still able to get down here significantly faster than us and set up. We managed to deal with them. Thankfully, I had other infantry here that was occupying them, and we were able to get through that. But that just goes to show, even doing that, you don't want to be the first vehicle out there if you are a slow tracked vehicle. You want something ahead of you if you can get it, which I had in this instance, so it worked out well. We managed to get down here, we get squared away on this road, and from this point forward, it was just kind of shooting fish in a barrel, waiting for something to come down the road. We end up getting a Logi or two and just had a lot of success until eventually the IMF always gets you, which they do eventually get us, but we stalled them so badly that we end up capping this, so literally they only have a single point. Here's something you already know. Playing vehicles in the middle of a city sucks. There's so many hiding places, so much cover, very good cover for infantry all over the place. One of the most popular maps that's out there, love it or hate it, is Fallujah. And it's not the only one with city, but it's probably the most well-known because the whole middle of the map is just, one big city. Streets with buildings and places for infantry to hide everywhere you look.
Missed it.
Blam! All right, welcome to Fallujah. You are the team up north here. You're going to be leaving your main. You put it in squad maps. Here's what you see. You can see that it's going to come over to the west. It's going to be some kind of western lane coming either to the crossroads area or to commercial district area for the center cap. So take a look at this. Where would you want to go with your vehicle? Now, when it comes to city maps, a lot of people do not like to be in the city at all. So there is that strategy to consider. We just stay out of the city, at least for the beginning, until we can get an idea of where the enemy infantry or the enemy vehicles are. So maybe we come over here to this area and wait. Maybe we stay back here because there's not really going to be any enemy infantry in these areas. Unless you might get one or two randoms that are hunting armor to kill, right? You might get a roaming hat kit that's out there trying to find vehicles. Likewise, over on the other side of the map, you've got this whole area over here where you don't have to be in the middle of the city. You've got very little to worry about, and you just kind of hang out and wait. And you're really not that far. Even though this is a western layer, I honestly would be fine if someone came over here and parked up on this overpass and just waited. You're not that far away. You're just half a kilometer away from getting into the fight if you need to. So that's fine on these smaller maps. So it's fine if that's what you want to do. I want to pull off to the side. I want to wait. I want to see how things develop. And you might poach something. Maybe you post up here where you've got eyes down this road and you see if you can get some random engineer or some random squad doing a back road flank or something like that, and just kind of wait and see how the map develops. That's fine. Anything you want to do to help you increase your survival odds, do it. because Fallujah, any kind of city area, is heavily structured in favor of the infantry. It just is. You're not going to have nearly as good of games when you're in the city as you will when you're outside of city areas. One of the most important things, in my opinion, is to get this concept of no-go zones when it comes to where the infantry is, especially when you're talking about city areas. So we can see here, we know where their third cap's going to be. It's going to be in this area where these green fives, or these orange fives are. So let's just kind of draw a circle around this. We know early on, enemies are going to be here like crazy. There's going to be a lot of enemies in there. We don't want to go anywhere near here, in my opinion. This is what's going through my mind as I'm driving around anyway. That area is going to be filled with lots of infantry. You don't want to go to an area of a city map, or really any map, that is filled with infantry. That should be how your mind is thinking, and that's a no-go zone for you, unless you've got a lot of infantry with you that's supporting you. You do not want to go anywhere near there. What you want to do, if you're trying to get pressure on them, is you think, well, where can I get pressure on them safely? And just be content with that. Maybe you come over here and sit back from Mosque and just kind of get long eyes down this MSR and shoot into this area. You've still got to be careful around Mosque. A lot of people like to go there. But still, you could play far back from the third cap. Or maybe you come over here and do it here. This is actually a good spot here as well. You can get pressure up these roads into that area where their third cap is. And you've also got pressure down this road in case for the vehicles that are potentially trying to get around on the side or whatnot, or coming out of these second caps. So those are good options that let you put pressure on those infantry areas and stay a safe distance back. Just think of it in terms of that. Now, when it comes time to actually push, if you've got a lot of friendlies in here who are trying to push one of these crossroads points, you might be tempted to go in here. So you've got a lot of friendlies in here now. Can I push in there now? I would be fine with that. In fact, I'll do that all the time. It is high risk because you are going into a heavy infantry area. But yeah, you can do that if you want. You can go in there, get in with your troops, push with them. You've got a lot of cover, a lot of people who can help you if you get disabled or whatever. That's going to be fine. That would be the only way I would push into those areas, is when you see a lot of friendlies in there like that. All right, we're still on Fallujah. We flipped it. Now we're the team starting in the south here. As you notice, we've got our first point keyed in, and we have no friggin' idea where it's going to go. It could be east, could be west, we don't know. So not only does it take us a little bit longer to get to these center caps than it does for the northern team, but we also don't know where we're going. This tells you you need to be careful. And this is why you should always look from the other side on SquadMaps too, by the way, so you can know if they've got better intelligence than you or not. Yeah, so in this case, we know they've got better intelligence, and just from experience playing the map, they can get down here a little bit faster. So we see here where their third caps are, where the potential fourth caps are, and we know they can get to those fourth caps faster than us in general. Let me get the right color here. I would say, as far as no-go zones that I would be thinking about, it would be something like this. I would be staying out of this area. Well, really, I'd make this whole thing. I would be cutting off the whole north of the city. I would not want to be going around up there because I don't know where they're going. If it's coming this way, they could be all over that area. If you end up back in here, I wouldn't get caught up in there. This would be a great time, in my opinion, to use the sides of the map and wait to see how things develop. You can take the initial time to come out here, post up here. You've got good eyes on these roads if another vehicle decides to try and do the same thing. You've got good eyes down this road in case anyone's trying to push forward for some reason. And just wait and see how the map develops. You don't have to be heavy in the mix right from the beginning. You could run, also, another thing would be to escort. If you just want to safely escort your troops, that's a good idea. That's actually a pretty good idea, to escort lodges. Now, you may not want to be escorting the back cappers, but find a lodge. Where are they pushing to? Maybe they're pushing up here to warehouse, or they're going to green zone, or they're going to come up here to hotel district. If you want to go with them, that's fine, and then that way you've at least got some support if you're going into one of these areas. If you're going in there with lots of friends, let's say they're coming in here again, as long as you've got a lot of friends you're escorting in there, it's going to be fine if you go in there too, I would say. So you've got that option too if you want to go on escort. Go off to the sides and wait. Go somewhere, escort somebody, or just post up somewhere. If you wanted to post up here at Green Zone and shoot down this road, that's going to be fine. Just more than anything, I just urge you to stay clear of those no-go zones. Get that in your mind. Where is the no-go zone, and stay out of there. You're going to survive much longer if you do that, if you start developing a sense for where the enemy infantry is. A lot of times what I'll be doing when we're in safe areas, like here we're doing invasion, and our team is pushing the next point, so we're staying well back from that and getting just long eyes down some of these longer roads where we can and taking shots, pot shots on infantry or whatever, staying well out of that central fight as best as we can. We like to engine off in a lot of areas because we're trying to listen for other vehicles. We'll try and stop somewhere, wait, play a long road, and just listen. Listen and see how the map is developing. And it helps if you've got a top gun, especially in this, a command seat. I would dare say is a requirement, though frankly, I do it all the time without a command seat. But boy, it is nice to have all of those extra eyes. If you've got a fourth seat, the option for a fourth seat on some of those tanks, take advantage of it. You want to do that. But just sit back, be patient, wait, engine off here and there, listen, and stay well back. Long eyes down long roads from as safe of an area as you can get. So here's some footage of us pushed up much closer to the enemy cap. And of course, I would never be up this close if not for the fact that we've got so many friendly infantry that are up here pushing the point with us. In this case, it's fine. I've got pretty much, I'd say 80% of the team is within about 300 meters of me here, so we would be fine to be up here. We're still going to sit back some because there's no need to push up close with the tank. Stay back as far as they'll let you and still make those shots, right? But it's fine to get a little closer as long as you've got support like this. All right, and I'm going to end it there. This has gotten ridiculously long. There's still more I would want to say about some of these things, but this is fine. 40 some odd minutes of this stuff is fine. I'm stopping there. Hopefully you found something in all of that mess that was worth anything. Again, just more than anything, I stress the notion of stay alive. Stay alive, stay alive, right? Be cautious with your vehicles. If you start losing these vehicles and getting no value of them, you're a detriment to your team more than you're helping them. I would encourage you to shoot for getting at least double your ticket value. You know, if you're crewing that tank, that Abrams, that is a very valuable vehicle. With 2-3 crewmen, right, you're worth 18 tickets. You should be shooting to get 30 plus tickets out of that thing before you die in it. That's what you need to be going for. If you don't get there, if you only get, say, 17, 18 tickets before you die, well, maybe you broke even, but that's still not good. That's not good at all. You need to be getting better than that. So that's your goal. Go out there, get you at least double your ticket value, and now I'd say you're really being a good service to your team by getting those vehicles out there if you do that. Stay alive, and just be careful with those vehicles, and you're going to do fine. Hope I see you guys out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, wait, no. That guy
Here.
The one that fucked
Here,
off.
load it. Here, now
shit.
get it.
Wait, what?
Get it now. I just pulled it off the hab.
T62 on main
Oh,
road.
sick.
Copy, main road. Give me a mark, please. All right, there it is. He's on the main road.
I might try and swing behind him and engine him.